Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan Green, and today I'm going to be talking about the defensive sleeper draft picks that I really love, and I'm probably going to go in like day three. Y'all seem to like the offensive sleeper picks, so hope you enjoy this one as well. Starting off with Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. He is 6'1", 248, and he is 24 years old, and he will be 25 in May. So a little bit of an older prospect, so it is going to hurt him a little bit, drop him not even more. But as a player, I absolutely love him. Now, obviously, you look at that 6'1", 248, and you're like, oh, well, it's not the best frame, but he has a ton of production. And I know you're like, oh, well, it's Colorado State. Well, whenever he goes up against good competition, he shows out. When he went to the Senior Bowl, he showed out. And the other thing too is that like for small school guys, I look more about technique. Like what can translate into the NFL because yeah, you're not going to always out athleticize like your competition even though you do that in the small school. But his technique lets him dominate more um especially because he has a very lower kind of body power. He's like trunks for thighs. Like he's also had an amazingly high motor. That's the reason why a lot of his sacks, a lot of his tackles for loss were just based on pursuit. Like the guy doesn't quit, and that's the reason why I've loved Mo Kamara since I watched the Colorado State game, and I'm sure maybe some of y'all might have found him from there, but he was all over the field. He was all over the field in that game. Um, and I think the other thing too is that because he's shorter, because he's 6'1", he's got that natural leverage over a lot of like bigger tackles. So one of the things that tackles do not like, especially if they're 6'5" and above, is those smaller guys that not only can they get the bend, but they already have the natural leverage of being below you. That if they have a strong base like Mo has, it's going to be a tough day for you because it's hard for you to get underneath them. So I love Mo. I think he could probably go in the fourth, but more than likely he's going to be a fifth round pick. But Mo, definitely a name to be looking out for in the future. Another one in the almost like a similar um, body type, and that's Javon Solomon from Troy. He is 6'1", 246, and he is 23 years old. So he's a little younger than Mo. A lot of these players are going to be 23 or so, but I absolutely love Javon. Obviously, another smaller school, even though Sunbelt's a little bit bigger than what's that? Colorado State was that? Is it Mountain West? There's still Mountain West, right? I'm assuming there is. Sorry. Um, but just like Mo, he has that like that lower body power that kind of comes through on tape. You can kind of see that, even though yes, he's going against smaller school competition. Like a lot of his technique and a lot of his natural leverage, like what his body type is actually going to do, is going to translate to the NFL. So both of these guys, I'm not going to say they're going to be as good as a Hassan Reddick, but like in that same mold as like a smaller guy who's got natural leverage, has long arms, so it's not like they can't get any kind of extension, but because they have really good strong lower bodies, they can hold up in the run game as well. So another thing too is both these guys, they fit that mold of being a stand-up end in a 3-4 scheme. Mo has kind of shown a little bit more to be hand in the dirt, but both of them would be better in like a 3-4 kind of scheme. Now, my other defensive end, who doesn't necessarily have to be, but he's definitely a project, and that is going to be Jalix Hunt. Oh, by the way, Javon Solomon, probably going to be a fourth or fifth round pick like Mo, around the same exact time. Jalix Hunt, he is Mr. Project for me, but I love what he could possibly be. He is from Houston Christian. He was at Cornell, and then he went to Houston Christian. A converted safety, and you can see that on tape because of how fast he is. He is 6'4", 252, and with 35, almost it's like 34 and 3/4 inch arms. That is crazy. Like that's like just a crazy build. He's a little bit older. I couldn't find exactly how old he was for some odd reason, but he's a redshirt senior. So I'm assuming he's about 23. And yes, this is a small school. So obviously you can take it with a grain of salt. But I do like his athletic traits, kind of similar to, I'm trying to think of there was a Houston Baptist um edge rusher that I can't think of last year that I really liked too. It was another older prospect that had a lot of athletic traits that basically all you gotta do is just bring him in and he'll be like a 2 year project. But I love what Alex Hunt could potentially bring. Um you need to have him kind of develop that anchor because like I said, he's a converted safety. So he could also have really good usage in like a 3-4 defensive end as far as like if you have your ends kind of go into coverage. If they do, he's going to be really good in that because he's a like I said, he's a former safety. He has those instincts. But dude, like if you all I'm saying is he's probably gonna be like a 6 round pick, but I just love what he could be. So it's a name to watch out for. Probably gonna go in the middle to late day three. And who knows? If he goes to a really good coaching staff, they can get the most out of him. I think he'll be an absolute steal. But like I said, right now he's more of a project. Going to defensive tackles, there's a defensive end slash DT that I like, and then there's a nose slash DT that I really like. And starting off with the nose slash DT, that's Christian Boyd. I love Christian Boyd. I didn't really have him on my radar until the Senior Bowl, and then all of a sudden he was like dominating everybody there, and I was like, okay, who is this guy? Christian Boyd. He is 6'2", 320, about 23 years old. He's from Northern Iowa. Like I look back at his tape and when he went against like good competition, when he went against like Iowa State, when he went against like yeah, Iowa State might not be the cream of the crop in the Big 12, but it's still it's still a Power Five conference. He absolutely dominated. He absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl too. So he has a great first step and has like really good pursuit as well for a guy that size. Like he's not going to give up on a play. There are times where like that great first step, especially on pass sets, that sometimes like he kind of later on in the game he kind of runs out of gas. But I'm not expecting him to start you know the whole entire time because he fits a specific role. But he's absolute stud in the run game. Like he knows like the movement of blocks. He's able to shed. He has a couple of good moves that I've seen, like a couple of good rips that I've seen. That I'm really excited for him to go to a team where he doesn't have to start, but him being in a rotation, Christian Boyd in the fourth round. And I got on to I started getting started understanding a little bit why people started loving him, but there is so many teams that have him as a top 30 visit. I haven't counted how many there are, but like literally just look up top 30 visits for each team. He is on most of those teams. So people around the league love him. But he could be a nose. He has the size too. He has the anchor to be a nose, but he also has position flexibility to be the three tech too. So like I said, I would just get him in your organization. You get him in the fourth round. You have him for the next 4 years. Like he's going to be really good for any team that gets Christian Boyd. I feel really confident in him working out. Even though from Northern Iowa, smaller school, maybe pushed down a little bit, but I absolutely love him, Christian Boyd. My 3-4 defensive end that I have uh is not I'm not saying I'm a homer, but obviously watching this guy for the last 4 or 5 years, yeah, 5 years from Marcus Harris. He is obviously from Auburn. I'm an Auburn fan if you didn't know. He is 6'2", 286. He came in. Well, no, actually, no. I've only watched him for 3 years because he was at Kansas for 2 years. And then he transferred over. He was a defensive end, and then kind of transitioned into more of a tweener role. That's the reason why he kind of went up to 286. And it's definitely slowed him down, but you can see in like the short area quickness of what he had when he was a defensive end. Like it shows, especially because he still is absolutely incredibly strong. Like against like a lot bigger competition, those 330 pound tackles are guards as it go up against the SEC. He holds his own against. Sometimes he can get pushed back, but at the same exact time, like he has the speed. he has the bendability to try to like bend back into wherever the run fit is. So I feel pretty confident. I don't like him as much as I like Kobe Wooden coming out last year, but in a 3-4 scheme that prioritizes like a lot more blitzes, a lot more slants, stuff like that, like those kind of stunts, I think it'll do really good in. So I love Marcus Harris as one of those later on you pick in getting kind of your rotation kind of picks, but Marcus Harris, another um, defensive end to kind of like look out for. Going to be later because of he only fits a specific role. So moving on from really the front seven, there's not really any linebackers that I like late. Like I loved Ivan Pace Jr. last year, and I knew he was going to go down low because I knew where he was, what kind of role he was fitting, and there's not really a linebacker in this, unfortunately, in this draft class that's not going to go, day two that I don't love. Like most of the linebackers that I like are going to go day two, so it's going to be kind of hard for me to be like, oh, well, they're a sleeper, and I'm like, they're going to fit a role, they're going to get drafted in the second or third round, and there's not really any sleepers, so that's where I kind of skipped that, but I do have four corners and I have one safety. Now, my first two corners are nickels, so obviously they're going to go a bit lower than they probably should, but I do think that someone might reach on them probably in the third round, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go in day three because of them being nickels. And the first one starting off is Mike Sanderstill from Michigan. I absolutely love Mike Sanderstill. So obviously Michigan won the championship, national championship this past year, and Mike Samerson was one of the reasons because he was everywhere. He lined up in the nickel. He sometimes he didn't line up on like the best wide receiver, but he was all around the ball because he has those kind of ball skills. He's a converted wide receiver. He was a wide receiver for the first like I want to say first 3 years of his career. Oh, I forgot to say his measurables. Sorry, his measurables. He's 5'9", 182. I mean, I'll have it up on the screen, but and he's 23 years old. So he is still kind of learning the cornerback position. So it's a little not as much of a project, I really think, because of like how he fit in that defense. But I think, especially after year one, I think he'll be an amazing nickel. I think he'll still like have some tweaks to his game that you really need to fix. But I absolutely love Mike Sanderson. He is a willing tackler as well. So he probably needs to fix that like a little bit. But honestly, the ball skills, because of him being a converted wide receiver, it definitely shows. And you're gonna love this guy. I guarantee you that whoever picks him is gonna have their starting nickel for at least the next 4 years, and that's gonna be really important for the how the game's kind of going into where it's a lot less. It's a lot more three wide receiver sets. So Mike Samerson is definitely a name to watch out for. The other nickel who has a little more flexibility to go outside, but I feel like he's going to find a really good role as a nickel. That's Renardo Green from Florida State. He is 6'1", 186, and he's also 23 years old. Like I said, a lot of these are older prospects, but he did really, really good against LSU. That's when I first kind of noticed him because I usually try to watch like during the year instead of like looking to the future because sometimes like I'll totally forget about what I thought about them before and all this kind of stuff. But I watched the first game and like I was like, okay, I need to look at this guy, and like he really popped off. He a little bit smaller, but he is really good at press. He's just like I said, the 186 is a little concerning for some people, but I think he can still gain some more weight if you want to play him outside. But if not, I think it's gonna work really well in the nickel and more of a press man of kind of defense. Um, I will say not as well as Mike Sanders. So he doesn't really fall. He doesn't really find the ball that well. His ball skills aren't the best, but just like Mike Sanders, so he's a more than willing tackler. Um, kind of misses some tackles here and there, but like what corner doesn't? But like I said, they're both of them are not afraid to tackle, and that's the reason why I really love them. I think that, like I said, you take them in the fourth round, and you feel really comfortable as getting a good guy in the rotation, and then a guy who's I feel like is going to be really coachable and could potentially go to like the second tier corners in the league. Obviously, they're not going to be like the number one. They're never going to be, but like a solid contributor who's going to have like a really long NFL career. I think both these guys can really hit that, especially like I said, being a nickel. Um, Really, the next three guys are more so. I'm not going to say there's more. They are Auburn players, but I think that they don't get talked about enough. So obviously, I feel like they're sleepers in my opinion. I don't love him as much as I've loved other corners coming out from Auburn. Like obviously, I loved Carlton Davis coming out, Jamel Dean, and even Roger McCreary who came out. I feel like all three of them have better skill sets. But I do think that as corner threes, and then also a backup safety, I think they would fit really good roles. And that's going to be DJ James, who is 6 foot, 175, 23 years old, and of course, like I said, from Auburn. He is more of a nickel corner due to a smaller frame, but dude, he has such good instincts. Like maybe his ball skills, aren't as good as Mike Samuelson, but like knowing how to run like the route for the wide receiver was something that like I loved DJ James when he was at Oregon. I watched him there. I'm trying to remember which game I watched him there, but I was like, okay, let me look at this guy. And then when we got him for Auburn, I was like, oh, I really love this. I really love this guy. I'm really glad he came here. And like I said, I think because he's instinctive enough, he can play outside, especially in like man or zone kind of man or zone kind of schemes. You just got to watch out for him going against bigger bodies. That's the main problem with DJ James. Sometimes he can get kind of bullied. Like I said, that 175 definitely shows up if you go against like a 225 wide receiver. And he's not the best tackler, which is kind of a thing for the next, the other two guys. They're That's the reason why I kind of bump him down a little bit. But if you get DJ James, you got a corner three, you got a good rotation in case someone goes down, and someone who can potentially play a nickel. He has the speed to do so, and he has instinct to definitely do so. So, obviously, I love him as well. The second guy is going to be Nehemiah Pritchett. Nehemiah Pritchett's been in Auburn for a long time. I think he's been there for 5 years. Um, 6 foot, 190, great size. But dude is really a really good man a corner. So if your defense is running a whole lot of man, Nehemiah Pritchett is your guy. He does need to improve his zone instincts. He doesn't really have sometimes he gets kind of lost if he's not having his hands on the wide receiver. So that's going to be kind of a problem, but I think it just depends on what scheme he goes to. If he goes to a man scheme, he's going to do really well, and he can kind of transition to become learning more, getting better in his own instincts. But right now, man corner, a corner three, I think that's going to be really good for him. He also needs to get better at tackling. That's one of the things that like I was really concerned about for both of them. I was like there are times where they just miss in the open field, and I'm like, oh man, it's hard to watch. As an Auburn fan, it was really hard to watch, but I still love the guys because a lot of times they can just shut out. Technically, both of them shut down Brian Thomas Jr. in the LSU game. It was more so Malik Neighbors going off, but lastly is a more so of a free safety who was a corner, and that's Jalen Simpson. He has absolutely amazing ball skills. Like obviously he had 4 interceptions last year. He had a pick six this year. Um, he is 6 foot, 179. He's like I said, he is technically a corner size that's playing as a free safety because one of the things that helped him moving back in the free safety is that he can use his athleticism because he's super, super fast. He can use it as athleticism to use what he's best at, and that's going to be in the zone. I feel like really comfortable if you move him back down the corner and you stick him in zone. I feel like he's going to do really really great there. But I do think he needs to like kind of bulk up a little bit. But he does get that position flexibility that I think any team's really going to want to love. The other thing too, unfortunately, not the best in run defense. Like I said, with the other two Auburn corners, I don't know what it is, but there was a lot of times where I just missed tackles in the open field, and get a little bit angry with him, but I was like, I'm not going to be as mad because I can see, what you bring to the team, and I'm not ever going to like tear them down, all that much. But yeah, he's like I said, his great instincts that kind of showed a little bit when he was a corner got amplified when he moved back to free safety. So those are going to be my sleeper picks, a little bit shorter than the ones before. If you do want to know my other opinions on some of these other position groups, obviously go to GridIron Gurus on Spotify. You can hear both me and Luke talk about them. Another thing too is that on Tuesday I will be streaming a 3 round mock draft. So if you have any draft questions, obviously you can ask them here, but you can also ask them during the stream, and then you can also see where I think other teams are going to be going in the draft. So looking forward to that. Going to also stream the draft day one and day two. Day three I'm going to be working, so I can't stream that. But I'm really looking forward to this draft season. I'm really excited. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.